In our preliminary task, we experimented with the use of sound and its effectiveness for the final product. As our prelim was conforming mainly to the horror genre, we had a wider range of conventions that we could experiment with. Although creative, our use of sound did not often flow or was inappropriate to the scene that we had created. For example, we had sound effects of glass shattering when it would have been more effective and appropriate to have an electrical static sound. An example of the sound not flowing was when we chose a heavy breathing sound effect over Emma's character. The sound does not match up with the breathing in the clip, and the finalised version, the effect is unprofessional and unrefined. Although the small mistake was minor, it meant that in our film opening, the skills for detecting the smaller mistakes were more refined and we were able to get a more accurate and appropriate soundscape in the final product. By deconstructing other social realism film openings, we analysed how we could effectively use sound yet still stay within the appropriate genres and conventions of the genre. Stay within the appropriate conventions of the chosen genre. That's the one. As well as looking at films like The Selfish Giant, I also looked at the film opening for A Single Man, which is a period drama film, as it has the same sort of downhearted theme that we wish to pursue. Although we did not include a score like the opening did, it also gave me more ideas and a wider understanding of how we could sound could be used effectively. In our final product, we chose to have no score and relied on diegetic sound to conform to common conventions of the genre, like in the film opening for Fish Tank. By doing this, we also made the whole situation seem realistic and not artificial, as there was no sad backing track that could have made it seem unprofessional. Although we chose diegetic sound, most of the traffic and car horns, including the sirens and the trains, were layers we added in, as the sound that the camera picked up were not good enough quality or weren't loud or busy enough to be heard.
At the start of our preliminary task, we went into making the film with little to no knowledge on how to work the camera or how to progress the plot effectively. However, going into this task, we were a lot more prepared. With the peer assessment, we found flaws in our preliminary task, which we can improve on for next time. Editing is a major role in filmmaking and is what makes or breaks the final product. Experienced editors can alter the subpar footage in post-production to really bring it to something amazing. We all took it upon ourselves to learn the basics of editing, getting familiar with Photoshop, Final Cut and in some cases After Effects. All very powerful tools, should be noted. Getting to know these products really allowed us to make Cardboard City as best as we could have. In some cases, we had footage filmed in different parts of the day, and so the lighting differed noticeably throughout the progression of the plot. A simple colour grading effect and altering light levels meant that we had the lighting consistent throughout. As you can see from the preliminary task, the lighting is very bright in some shots, taking away the element from our project, which is meant to conform to the horror genre. Some shots we also wanted to increase such things as the contrast. This was to get the background more colourful and our protagonist with a darker colour to further her isolation. This was done possible in Final Cut, where you can simply change them how you wish.
Hi there, I'm going to give you a little bit of information on our use of typography in our preliminary and how it improved in our final film opening. When we made our typography for our prelim, we didn't really put much thought into it, like what font we should use or colour it should be. This may have been because it was quite early into us starting our media course, so we hadn't looked at other short films, and ergo we had no idea which font we should use. So it ended up looking like this. I'm sure we can all agree it's not the best typography in the world, so before we put any typography on our final coursework, we did plenty of research. For this research, we looked at other films in our chosen genre, which is social realism. These films included Trainspotting, Fish Tank and Selfish Giant. All of these films had similar typography, which is simple and suitable for this genre. The mood of the film is demonstrated through the colour they use, for example the blue in Fish Tank and the pink in Selfish Giant. We looked at many different fonts, and after weeks of searching we found the perfect font, except we had to pay for it, so we found a similar font that looked just as good and decided to use that instead. We ended up with this. Looks good, doesn't it? This demonstrates how we took our feedback from our prelim and improved upon it to produce something much more suitable.
In our preliminary task, we were very limited to props and locations. To make our horror short film conform to conventions of paranormal films, I brought in the prop of a mask. Besides this, we managed to utilise the limited location at school and use it to our advantage by applying it to a storyboard and plot. The audience liked this, but we felt we could have been more creative if we had the opportunity. Hence, I spent a lot of time researching into mise-en-scene used in social realism films. Common conventions included the use of dirty and gritty locations. We used our survey to gain some ideas of what to include for our audience. After location scouting, we decided to use the City of London, specifically Brixton, and the local town of Maidstone. On the other hand, props within this genre differ to each plot, as plots can present different issues, and the props of needles, etc. in Trainspotting would be different to the props needed to convey prostitution, like in London to Brighton. So I used documentaries of homelessness to gather props that convey homelessness instead. This included distressing gloves, selecting a worn heavy-duty coat, making Emma not wash her hair for a couple of weeks, and used props like cardboard signs and sleeping bags to note homelessness. I felt we could have planned the whole outfit better, as feedback said that the jeans Emma wears looks fairly new. From our survey, we also wanted to hint to some sort of family issue, which could provide an implication of a plot if this was a real film. We did this by using the prop of a locket. In the first scene where Emma is alone in a remote urban backstreet, the isolation allows the audience to focus on it and her reaction to the locket, suggesting its significance. I think carefully planning this, unlike in the preliminary, allowed us to play with the audience's thoughts and reactions more.